2026 Indian Wells Open Pick, prediction for Aryna Sabalenka vs Victoria Mboko. Blake Crass breaks down his best bet for the 2026 Indian Wells Open match between Aryna Sabalenka and Victoria Mboko. The Indian Wells Open is on to the quarterfinals. One of the biggest matches of the day sees world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka take on world number 10 Victoria Mboko. The match begins at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Sabalenka is minus 338 on the moneyline on DraftKings Sportsbook, while Mboko is plus 268. This is my best bet to target for the Sabalenka vs Mboko match. Aryna Sabalenka vs Victoria Mboko preview. Victoria Mboko is one of the rising stars in the tennis world. At just 19 years old, the Canadian is already the number 10 player in the world. Mboko broke onto the scene by defeating Naomi Osaka in the 2025 Canadian Open final. That gave Mboko her first WTA 1000 title at just 18. She has gotten off to an incredible start in 2026 as well. Mboko made it to the Adelaide Open final, the fourth round of the Australian Open and the Qatar Open final in her 3 tournaments played so far this year. Now, Mboko is coming off a dominant win over Amanda Anisimova in the round of 16 at Indian Wells, setting up this matchup with the world number 1. Aryna Sabalenka has been the class of women's tennis for a while now. She has held the year-end number 1 spot each of the last 2 years. Sabalenka has also stacked 4 major titles and made 4 other major finals. However, Indian Wells is one of the tournaments that has eluded Sabalenka over the years. She has made it to the final here in 2 of the past 3 years, but has come up short both times. Sabalenka has dominated her way through the field so far in 2026, cruising past Naomi Osaka in the round of 16. Sabalenka seems destined to reach another final, as she has in both tournaments she has played this year. She kicked off the year by winning the Brisbane International, then made it to the Australian Open final, where she lost to Elena Rybakina. It has been a long layoff for Sabalenka, but she has picked up where she left off. Aryna Sabalenka vs Victoria Mboko pick, best bet. My best bet for this match is for Aryna Sabalenka to win by 2-0. Victoria Mboko has been brilliant this year, including through the first few rounds of this tournament. However, Sabalenka is just on another level than even the likes of Amanda Anisimova. That is a lesson that Mboko learned the hard way at the Australian Open. She pulled off a nice upset over Clara Tauson to move on to the 4th round at a major for the first time. In that 4th round she met Sabalenka, who defeated her 6-1, 7-6. That was the first career meeting between the 2 players, and Mboko could not handle Sabalenka's game early on, getting demolished in that first set. While she responded well in the second set, the tiebreaker was a dominant 7-1 win by Sabalenka. Mboko could be one of the great players in this sport for a long time, but she has a few more lessons to learn before she can beat Aryna Sabalenka at a big tournament like Indian Wells. 2026 Indian Wells Open, pick and prediction Aryna Sabalenka vs Victoria Mboko. A clash of dominance and daring in the California desert. The desert air of Indian Wells Open carries a special tension whenever the sport's established giants meet its rising stars. Under the golden Californian sunset, one of the most intriguing matchups of the 2026 tournament unfolds. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka vs Canada's teenage sensation Victoria Mboko. It is more than just a quarterfinal. It is a generational crossroads, raw power against fearless youth, proven greatness against fearless ambition. Sabalenka arrives as the tournament favorite, a player whose ferocious baseline aggression has defined the modern women's game. Mboko, meanwhile, represents the fearless new wave, only 19, already ranked inside the top 10 and rapidly building a reputation for upsetting the sport's elite. The stage is set for an explosive encounter. The champion's authority, Aryna Sabalenka. Few players in the WTA can impose themselves on a match quite like Sabalenka. Her style is unapologetically aggressive, massive serves, punishing forehands, and relentless baseline pressure. When Sabalenka is playing at her best, rallies are short and brutal. She takes the ball early, pushes opponents deep behind the baseline, and turns defensive exchanges into immediate attacks. At Indian Wells, those weapons become even more dangerous. The slow, hard courts give her just enough time to wind up her ground strokes, while the high bounce amplifies the heavy topspin on her forehand. In earlier rounds of the tournament, Sabalenka demonstrated precisely why she is the world's top-ranked player. She dismantled Naomi Osaka in straight sets, 6-2, 6-4, controlling the match with dominant serving and relentless returns. That performance sent a clear message. Sabalenka is not merely competing at Indian Wells, she is hunting another title. But even dominant champions must face the unpredictable energy of rising stars. The challengers rise. Victoria Mboko. Victoria Mboko's journey to this quarterfinal has been one of the most remarkable stories of the past year. Born in North Carolina and raised in Canada, Mboko burst onto the professional scene with astonishing speed. In 2025, she leaped from outside the world's top 300 to become a top 10 player, a meteoric rise rarely seen in modern tennis. Her breakthrough moment came when she captured the Canadian Open, defeating multiple top players and announcing herself as one of the most exciting young talents on tour. Mboko's game is built around three core elements: a powerful, reliable serve, a dynamic two-handed backhand, intelligent shot variation, including clever drop shots. Unlike many young players who rely purely on power, Mboko mixes aggression with creativity. She is comfortable absorbing pace before redirecting it, a trait that could prove essential against Sabalenka's heavy hitting. This combination of athleticism and tactical maturity makes Mboko one of the most dangerous young players in the sport, and she has already proven she belongs among the elite. A familiar rivalry begins. Interestingly, Sabalenka and Mboko are not strangers. Earlier in 2026, they met in the fourth round of the Australian Open, where Sabalenka ultimately prevailed in straight sets. However, the match told a deeper story. Sabalenka stormed through the first set 6-1, overwhelming the teenager with sheer power. But Mboko quickly adapted, pushing the second set to a tiebreak and forcing the world number one to elevate her game. For Mboko, that match served as a valuable learning experience. She later described it as an eye-opener, a moment that revealed both the gap and the opportunity. Now, only a few months later, the Canadian has another chance. And this time, she is more prepared. Tactical battle. This match will likely be decided by three key tactical battles. 1. Sabalenka's power versus Mboko's defense. Sabalenka's objective will be simple: overwhelm. She thrives when matches turn into aggressive baseline exchanges where she can dictate play with her forehand. If she establishes early control of rallies, Mboko could quickly find herself defending from deep behind the baseline. Mboko, on the other hand, must disrupt that rhythm. She will likely try to change pace,